Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Flowers from a Deathworld, written by Agro 55. I pushed the door of my apartment with excitement. I had practically been running since I received a text. Jack, she said yes.
See, I told you.
Jack had been my roommate for 10 months. He was a human, a Deathworlder. I had long learned that behind this impressive label hid a person just like me, with maybe a few quirks like his quasi-immunity to ethanol. He wasn't really strong or particularly tall, and while I had not seen him in a seriously dangerous situation so far, he wasn't immune to cutting himself while cooking. The most visible difference was in his body language, practically invisible to those who are not used to it, but that was more to do with his species than Deathworlders in general. Apparently humans make up for that with the complex intonations of their voices, but it was lost through the universal translator. A shame. As a result, when I first met Jack, I was under the impression that he was an emotionless machine. I couldn't have been more wrong. He was much better than me at socializing, and it was only because of his advice that I had secured a date with Marley. Good job, man, he said, with a movement of his lips, which I knew was a smile, a sign of happiness. Yes. My excitement had already begun to let place to stress. But I don't know where to take her, or what to wear, or what else I should do. He placed a hand on my shoulder to stop me from shaking.
Relax, man. We've got a week to plan for that. Besides, you already know where to take her.
What?
Remember that little restaurant where we were invited by the Clecks a few months back? You said that you would invite your first date there.
That was a joke.
Maybe. Well, that's not a bad idea. As for what to wear, well, there's only one thing you can go for, and you know it.
It was not wrong. I only owned one fancy outfit.
Finally, I think she would appreciate a little gift. Do Kavass often offer flowers?
Flowers? I don't think she's into gardening.
I meant like a bouquet. Never mind. You guys probably don't do that.
Just out of curiosity, what is a bouquet?
It's a bunch of flowers that were cut with the stem. It's a common practice to offer them amongst humans.
Isn't it a little morbid to offer someone dead plants?
Ah, the plants aren't dead. If you put them in a vase and with water, they can hold for a few days. But yeah, it is a little messed up now that I think about it.
Not dead, but I thought that they had their stems cut.
Well, yes, but you'll need more than that to kill a flower. As long as it has water and light, it can feed itself through photosynthesis. So I guess it only dies when it runs out of nutrients.
But they were cut in half. How can they not die?
I don't know, man. I'm no biologist. But plants are tough. The ones from Earth, at least. They can't run away from danger, after all. So they got to be able to recover from injuries.
There is no recovering from getting cut in half, though. There is only delaying the inevitable.
I'm not sure about that. There are plenty of trees who can regrow from just a stump in the right circumstances. Hey, you okay, buddy?
I was instinctively curling into a ball and shaking. It was the first time I heard about a non-sapient life forms from Earth, and I hoped that it would be the last, given all the body horror nonsense going on with their flora. Never in my life would I have thought that I would be afraid of flowers. Yet here I was, scared like a little kid, who just learned that there used to be predators hunting us back in the days. No, I was a grown adult. Cowardice would not do. I needed to get myself together and be curious rather than scared about an unknown. As my mother always said, those who don't learn will be scared all their life. From a scientific point of view, Terran plants were a fantastic example of resilience and adaptation to a hostile environment. I stepped up and tried to hide my fear. I knew Jack was used to decrypt even more subtle expressions, but it was the effort that mattered. So, trees can regrow from their stumps. Can they also regrow from their branches, then?
Are you sure you want me to talk about that? Maybe it'd be better to stop this conversation here.
We can continue. I'm fine.
No offense, buddy, but you're not. I can see it.
Okay, I'm not fine. But I'll sleep better tonight knowing the full story than imagining half of it.
Well, your decision. There are trees that can grow from just a cut branch, although it probably won't happen naturally. But if you know what you're doing when gardening, it's absolutely possible. It doesn't work with all species, though.
Gardening with Deathworld plants must be, quite difficult.
I've heard it's really fun when you like it. There is a lot to do, trimming, watering, grafting.
Grafting? Jack did an expression he did not use often, and it took me a moment to recognize it from the tutorial in human body language. He had said something he hadn't meant to.
Right, well, if you, attach a part of a plant to another plant, it might transfer some of its characteristics to it. I'm not sure of the specifics, but that's the idea.
Well, that won the Nightmare Fuel medal for tonight. The less I thought about the implications, the better. I could see Jack was uneasy, too. Perhaps I should do a light-hearted remark to stir the conversation away from the topic. Imagine if that worked with animals. Like, if you got grafted my leg, you'd start growing feathers. That sounded better in my head. I completely failed, didn't I?
Actually, for animals it's called transplants, and it thankfully doesn't work like that.
You're telling me it's possible? Here was that rare expression again. Jack, answer to me. If transplants don't work like that, how do they work? My roommate's expression was unreadable, but not, as it was often the case, because his emotions were invisible. He was scared. He was angry. He was a bit embarrassed, and dozens of other signals I just didn't know how to read.
Enough talking for tonight, okay?
The color of his skin was noticeably different. I'd never seen that before, but I was guessing that it wasn't a good sign. No. I'd about to know what exactly I'm sharing a roof with. He then spoke slowly, but he didn't seem calmer.
I'm going to pack my bags.
Wait, what? Was he really that angry? That was quite an extreme decision. To me, he didn't seem more than mildly irritated, but I had no real point of comparison for human anger. I sighed. I'd once again messed up. Jack, forget it. It's fine.
No, it's not.
What do you mean it's not? He turned to me. His face showed a hint of sadness and something else.
It's not okay to lie to you, even by omission. You're clearly uncomfortable with my biology, and I don't want to force you to live with someone you disgusts you.
Disgust me? Come on, Jack. You're my friend. Who cares if you can survive getting cut in half? If anything, it's as cool as hell.
Don't lie to me, just to make me feel better. I know what you think of me.
Really? And since when are you a telepath?
Since all Avarians think the same thing.
During the whole conversation, he'd been preparing to go out. He was tying his shoes at this point. I bolted towards the door, blocking his path. I can't let you take that kind of decision while you're not thinking straight. He didn't answer. Simply slid his hands under my wings and lifted me like a child, only to put me down out of the way. What? Since when are you so strong? It was not effortless, but still. I weighed more than 50 kilograms.
See what I mean?
My tail swirled in confusion. I genuinely didn't.
Right, now you're thinking about the fact that I could kill you, and you'd be powerless to stop me.
Not at all. I didn't even cross my mind. Why would you think that?
Because it's what everyone thinks.
Everyone? Are you sure about that? Did you even meet one person who told you that?
Yes, 2.
Really? Really? Well, give me their address, and they'll see not just Deathworlders can beat them up. He blew through his nose and smiled a little.
You have a point, but I doubt sending them an amateur martial artist would improve their opinion of me.
You feel better now?
Oh, a little.
Well, you just go sit on the couch. I'll prepare you an infusion, and then we'll talk about all that calmly, okay? A little later.
So, where do we begin?
How about the fact that you lifted me like a paperweight? I thought I was the sporty one.
Well, the gravity here is only 2/3 of that of my home world, and half of the planet my species evolved on. 25 kilograms in Earth gravity is doable for a young adult, and I work out a lot too to remain fit in low gravity.
Well, from now on, you'll transport the groceries alone.
Fair.
Now, where were we? Transplants?
So, yes, if a human were to lose an organ, they could get another one implanted by surgery. If done correctly and with a compatible giver, the body will accept a new organ. By far the most common transplant is for blood.
And where does the organ come from?
Nowadays, it's grown in labs, but for a long time it came from other humans. Some organs could be given by live humans, like blood, but some had to be collected from freshly dead bodies.
I'm not sure if this is inspiring or gross that people were ready to give parts of their bodies to save lives. It's probably both, actually. And what's surgery?
Well, it's, I'm not sure how to put it. Opening up people to fix their insides. It's more complicated than that. More like intervening in the body with tools. I'm not great at explaining. Hey, you're all right, man? You look like you're going to throw up.
I can't do that. I haven't evolved a defense mechanism against poisons, but, how don't you die?
Surgery can be pretty dangerous, don't get me wrong. You need years and years of training to become a surgeon.
But do you really need to be, surgerized every time you get sick?
Oh no, thankfully. We have normal drugs for regular illnesses.
Ah, good. How many diseases can you get? I know Avarians are pretty lucky. We only have 4. I assume it's more for you?
I don't know off the top of my head. Probably thousands from pathogens, and then a lot of genetic diseases.
Thousands? How do you have a cure for each one? Forget that. How is there a niche for so many diseases? The average human must be sick at least 10 times in their life for it to work.
We do get sick often, but there is no need to have a cure for each one. In many cases, we just have to attenuate the symptoms and let our immune system do the rest.
I have no doubt that your immune system is stronger than mine, but I doubt it is able to completely wipe out a disease after it has taken hold, but not before. That seems illogical.
Well, it's because we actually have several immune systems, including one extremely powerful and specialized, called the adaptive immune system. It can obliterate a specific pathogen once activated.
But how can it be ready for thousands of diseases? I know evolutive pressure is higher on Deathworlds, but still. And what if a new disease appears?
Well, that's the trick. We are ready for every disease, past, present, and future.
I don't get it. How can you be ready for illnesses that don't exist yet?
There are only so many ways to arrange proteins in a microorganism. We just have to be ready for any potential combinations.
That would probably count in the billions, though. Even finding the correct combination must take days.
Yep. But at least there is a system to remember which diseases we caught, so we don't catch them again.
That's something that has a series of happening.
I know a guy who catches the flu every year.
I thought you had something for that.
That's true, but the flu virus is different every year. We adapt, so it adapts too.
I'm not going to think about the implications, but such a system must be costly. Disease can be a serious annoyance, and I guess on a Deathworld it makes survival more difficult. But still, is it really worth it?
Jack chuckled. A serious annoyance? Do you know why Earth is considered a Deathworld?
Because it sucks to live there in every conceivable way.
Kind of rude, but also true. It does suck more in certain areas than others, though, and diseases sure are one of them.
How bad is it?
90 to 95%. I frowned. Was it some form of danger classification I wasn't aware of? Whatever that meant, it sounded pretty bad.
What does that mean?
That's the worst epidemic in recorded human and galactic history.
You mean that 90 to 95% of all infected people die?
No, I mean that the population dropped by 90 to 95%. I stopped breathing for a second, trying to even comprehend the scale of devastation that represented. Diseases on Earth weren't annoyances or even serious concerns. They were civilization-ending threats. I tried imagining the suffering, the desperate measures, and all the hardships these people had endured, but I felt as if it never really reached the colossal scale of the disasters this was. How had humanity survived? How was my friend standing before me if they had to fight such calamities while trying to grow and develop? Don't worry, modern diseases are nowhere near that bad. In fact, we eradicated smallpox and 3 other illnesses with nothing but vaccines.
And what is a vaccine?
Well, as I told you, our immune system can remember diseases we caught in the past. So by injecting ourselves with a weakened version of the disease, we can become immune to it.
That sounds extremely barbaric.
Maybe. But it is extremely efficient. I decided to stir the conversation away from absolute nightmare fuel before I could think more about the implications.
I kind of feel defenseless compared to you now.
Don't be. You have plenty of defenses I could not afford, evolutionarily speaking. For example, you're immune to cancer. Also, no immune system means no allergies.
Do I even want to ask what that is?
Cancer is a category of illness that can touch, in theory, any multicellular organism. It happens when a cell starts to reproduce uncontrolled, forming a tumor and diverting resources away from the body until you die. Allergies are a reaction of the immune system to something benign, like a certain type of food. As previously stated, the human immune system is very powerful. Powerful enough to kill its possessor. So much for avoiding nightmare fuel. I looked at the time, which gave me a good excuse to cut the conversation short.
But it is getting late. Are there any other horrifying things I should be aware of before heading to bed?
I mean, humans get many parasites, but I probably don't have any.
Parasites are real. I thought they were invented by horror movie directors and stuff.
Where do you think they got inspiration? Well, at least real human parasites are nowhere near that bad. Insects, on the other hand, look. I don't want to traumatize you, so believe me when I tell you that cordyceps and ectomans are fecked up.
Giving it was the first time he considered something as traumatizing, I was inclined to believe him. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.